Okay guys, today we're going to talk about crawlers. Not creepy crawlers, but website crawlers. For those of you who don't know, let's just go way back, right? For those of you who don't know, campground, RV park owners, operators, people who are not weird marketing geeks like me, the way the internet generally works is that obviously you want your website to appear in Google search results and other search engines. And the way that they understand your content, know that it's there, figure out what it means, etc., 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 is they send out like millions of robots that crawl your pages, look at it generically, understand the content, put it all together, get a picture of your website, way oversimplifying this, take it back, put it in their index, and then voila, you appear wherever Google decides you appear in search results, you rank wherever they think you should rank, on and so forth. This is the way the internet has worked for a long time. But now, with the advent of all these new AI systems from ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, etc., these companies are sending out their own crawlers, and they are in some cases being very, very aggressive with websites. They are crawling so fast and so frequently and using up so much bandwidth and resources that in some cases they're bogging down sites, slowing down sites, even like super powerful sites on really, really expensive hosting. We've had to do a delegate balance with like Modern Campground, for example, where we've had to go in and say, you guys can only crawl a certain amount of times per day or hour or minute or whatever. We've had to block certain countries because remember, there's just not just AIs from the US and Canada. There are AIs from Japan and South Korea and France and the UK and Russia and everywhere else. And you don't want to necessarily just block these AIs by country, because depending on what your business is and how you're found and where people come from, you want to make sure that people can find you from all over the world, depending on, like, are you a campground? Are you a B2B? Are you a software as a service company, et cetera, et cetera? So you don't just want to block people based on country of origin, no matter how you may feel stereotypically or not, right? So the thing now is that there are companies, massive, large companies out there like Cloudflare, for example, who are choosing to pick battles with these providers on your behalf. And there's two sides to this argument, right? And I honestly sit on both sides of it. One is Cloudflare's basic premise argument of we are trying to protect you and your website, to in some cases defend your content from being stolen, used in AI models. That's a whole nother copyright debate we're not going to get into in this video, but and that's admirable in some ways, right? The problem is that they're blocking a lot of this stuff by default for new websites. They're in some kind of battle with Perplexity now, where they're calling them out for using anonymous user agents, which we'll get to in a second. Basically there's a 5-second wrap up. There's a thing called robots.txt that if you're a website dev, you should know about, that goes on your client websites, that you can sort of kind of tell which bots are allowed to crawl and which aren't. It doesn't really block it, but the good ethics of the internet says that you should follow what's inside that robots.txt file. And so Cloudflare's accusation is that Perplexity has been ignoring this robots.txt file, as have other AI companies. Not all of them are doing this, not even saying Perplexity is doing this. We'll get to that in a second. But there are some that are ignoring this stuff, and so you aren't able to block who you think you can block, et cetera, et cetera. So Cloudflare's kind of saying it's their marketing message, is they're going to help the little guy. I think they have good intentions here. The problem is that what they're blocking for users isn't always completely clear, especially when many of you who are watching this video for the first time didn't even know what a website crawler was, right? You know what search engines are, but you don't know what they do, how they function, how they get the content, all that kind of stuff. And if you are someone who is being protected by a Cloudflare system or something similar like that, and you get blocked, not you get blocked, but if Cloudflare is blocking the AI crawlers from accessing your website, and these are actually legitimate crawlers that you don't love being on your website because they eat up your bandwidth and take your resources, but are required for your campground, for example, to be understood and show up in things like Perplexity or Google or ChatGPT or Alexa Plus or Siri or whatever it is out there, right? And they're just going to block this by default, and you don't have a complete grasp and understanding of the ramifications of this, or you're not talking to your web dev or website person and they don't have an understanding of the ramifications of this, which, let's be honest, many don't, then you could find yourself just not included in these search results. Somebody could go to Perplexity, search for campground near me. They could go to Google, they could go to ChatGPT, they could go somewhere else. And because Cloudflare or one of these other systems has chosen to block your website or protect your website from these crawlers by blocking the crawlers, then like your data might not even be scraped or show up in these AI engines, which is a very huge problem for a customer base that may end up using these to try to find a place to go camping. So I think there has to be a balance here. I don't know what that is. Obviously, it's admirable that Cloudflare is in some way trying to solve the problem as an airplane goes overhead. Hopefully you can still hear me. But the other flip side of this too is that Cloudflare, as does many people in this world of ever-changing, fast-evolving AI, is not either understanding or speaking or talking about the complete truth here. And there's a recent blog article they put out about attacking Perplexity and how they're changing user agent names to identify themselves as something besides Perplexity to get past protections that Cloudflare has in place and things like that. And the problem with that is that, or at least how Perplexity is explaining it on their side, is there are two different types of robots. And this is very true. Now, I'm not saying Perplexity's right or Cloudflare's right, but you got to think about this from a usability standpoint, from an owner-operator, and you got to talk to your website devs about this stuff, because there's the crawlers that we've already talked about. They go scrape your content, they pull it, they ingest it, they know about you, they put you wherever they want to put you in whatever answers to whatever questions inside Google search or AI mode or overviews or Perplexity or ChatGPT or wherever else, right? But the flip side of that is now we have agents. So you go to ChatGPT if you're on a $20 a month plan, you type your query in the bottom, you click on the tools button, and you click on agent mode, and it goes out and opens up its own browser and starts using the internet. This is what Operator did since January. This is what Google's Project Mariner is doing. Many other companies are coming out with services similar to this, and it's not crawling for indexing. It's browsing on behalf of an individual user to accomplish a goal, like, I don't know, planning a trip to the city that's near you to find a good campground. And if people like Cloudflare, companies like Cloudflare, are unable to distinguish between a crawler and an agent working on behalf of a user, which is admittedly very hard, there's no precedent for this. And they are, again, I'm not taking sides, but they are going to come out and attack Perplexity. Perplexity's defense is, well, the crawlers are not the same as the agents, which I agree with. Then not only are you potentially blocking crawlers from indexing your website and information about your campground or RV park in their systems, but two, you might also be blocking a legitimate user from accessing your website who actually wants to go book a camping experience now. So there are massive ramifications to this that you guys need to pay attention to. You got to be talking to your website devs, developers. Like, I don't know how many of these people out there in our industry are paying attention to Cloudflare, to security, to bots, to all these different things. But you need to ask the questions. Go to ChatGPT, go to Gemini, go to Claude and say, hey, I have questions for my website developer. I need to understand what's happening here. Like, give me 5 questions that I can ask my website dev to know if they know what they're talking about. But this has the potential to, if gone unchecked, really harm businesses of all kinds, right? But we're talking about campgrounds, RV parks, and glamping resorts now, long term. So it's something that you guys really need to pay attention to, be cognizant of, be aware of, and do your best to, I don't know, decide which side you're on, I guess, because it's going to be a wild ride.